being recorded. Welcome to the lessons and best practices from COVID. And I spoke with Leo last month. We were talking about, okay, we are all talking about best practices during COVID, right? But as we are approaching, hopefully approaching the end here in the next few months, what are we going to take away from it? What are the lessons that we've learned uh, from everything that's been happening over the past year? So instead of having a presentation, instead of having bullet points for you all, what Leo and I talked about was to have a discussion surrounding this. So first, just to give you some background, my name is Caesar Smith. I'm the Associate Director of Athletics at Sacred Heart Cathedral in San Francisco, California. I'm a 98 graduate of the school. I started my athletic administration career as a graduate assistant in the USC athletic department during grad school in the Pete Carroll era, which was pretty fun. I've spent the last 10 years or so in Texas in coaching, teaching, and then during the latter part of my stay there in athletic administration, I took the job here at Sacred Heart Cathedral last year, and I'm finishing up my first year here. So it's been a whirlwind just to taking a job in the pandemic. It's been interesting. So all of that conversation kind of sparked like, okay, where do we go from here, right? So the elephant in the room for everyone is Zoom, right? We meet over Zoom, we're Zoomed out, Zoom this, Zoom that, but what can we take from it? And part of the analysis that I did was Zoom is actually good. It is good. Now, it must be done in moderation, but the advantage that we've had, at least here at Sacred Heart Cathedral, is we've been able to bring so many more people to the table when it comes to decision making, when it comes to moving forward and pushing our mission forward. Also, it's helped us with work-life balance. Every meeting, you don't need to stay till 7 o'clock at night at school to wait till your off-campus coaches, if you have those, are able to meet. Uh, it's funny that Phil is on the phone. I've seen Phil's living room much more than I probably would have ever seen if it were any other situation. But it helps us as professionals tend to our families, make sure that we spend time with our loved ones, but at the same time, ensuring that we're still on top of our jobs and aware of everything that goes on within our departments. The next point that I kind of want to get across was in regards to Zoom professional development. We've been able to develop ourselves professionally, emotionally, also with our coaches. They've been able to attend clinics, camps, all through this technology of Zoom or whatever, whether it's Google Meet or whatever you use. But it's been a huge asset in regards to us not sitting still for the past year and not getting better. And these are some of the things that we need to look at continuing after the pandemic is over, for us to come together. And I'm not saying eliminate in person, but this allows the frequency of our interactions to be a lot more robust. We've also, in regards to technology, we've also looked at different applications that have drawn our entire school community together, whether it's an app that involves athletics, visual and performing arts, student activities. We've been looking at different ways to synergize our entire campus, at least here, in when we had a lot of time on our hands. How can we bring all this together and not just sit on our hands? How can we take advantage of this time? So we took a look at the technology of applications and how it can bring our school community together. And one of the latest things we looked at was touchless as far as tickets through your phone. And that's been a huge, for for many of us in the profession, it's been a luxury, right? If you can do it, you can do it. We've been doing the same thing for a long time, but this pandemic has pushed forward these initiatives to go touchless with a lot of our ticketing, which would help streamline, track, keep us safe after games instead of carrying a ton of cash. But these are important initiatives that we have to look at. So that anyone have anything? I want to open up a little bit. Does anyone have anything to add to the technology piece that we're taking away from COVID?
I certainly agree that there's a lot more training opportunities for people being on these kinds of webinars. You don't have to travel between league meetings. It's that certainly saves a lot of time and energy there. Yeah, that's what I've been enjoying.
Yes, Phil, do you have anything to add?
I know we did our, in the fall, we did our college athletics nights at via Zoom. I mean, you know, we're always mindful of how many times we ask parents to come down to school, right? During the week in particular. And so I know we did our presentation for our college athletics night via Zoom. I thought it went very well. We actually did it one for incoming freshmen and one for current juniors and seniors. And I thought it just was, gave us an opportunity to be able to do more than we've done in the past without having to drag people back down to school for another meeting of sorts. So I don't know how we can do that with parent meetings going forward. I mean, we met with all of our teams, right, prior to their season to kind of give them all the updates and insights of what was going to be expected, you know, during this unique season. And, you know, we had parents jumping on along with the sons and daughters. And so, you know, do we continue with that? To some degree, I think so. But there's also the in-person part that, you know, getting people to connect with each other as well as the coaches, that is beneficial. So yeah, that's one thing that I know that I want to continue. And like you said, Maeve, these, you know, we've talked about it ad nauseum within our league, right? These league meetings here. I mean, just being able to have them, you know, in this venue is huge.
And that actually goes into sort of the next point. When analyzing this entire situation, we had an opportunity to push our DEI initiatives here on campus and look at ourselves as a department and how we conduct ourselves and support diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Zoom actually became part of that because we realized our communication can't be just, hey, we sent you an email. Hey, we posted it here. It allows the parents of our students that aren't necessarily able to drop everything and come down to school for a meeting, that aren't able to meet during traditional hours. It allows them the avenue to communicate directly with us and understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and understand that we're there for their children and for their families. I thought that was an extremely important outcome of COVID, in that different people need different things. And it's important that we address them, because once that, I always say this, once a child steps through that door, we have one chance. We have one chance to make everything as fruitful as possible. Once they graduate, we can't invite them back for 4 more years and say, oh, we messed up, come on back, let's start over. And so in looking at these huge initiatives that are happening around the country, and especially within our campuses, we have to apply those to how we conduct ourselves and how we do go about doing our business every day, and understanding that our students are our greatest resource, and we have to make sure we include them in everything that we do. And Zoom has been a great tool for that. And also understanding, you know, sometimes it's kind of okay to do an old school phone call. and really reach out and touch people and do more than getting that email mode of what we've been kind of trained to do over and over again. And I thought it's been, for me at least, and I'm sure Phil can speak to this too, especially on our campus. The parent involvement that we have, and he mentioned our college athletics night, has been so much more robust because they've had that opportunity to just log on, whether it's from their phone or from a home computer, and having maybe a hybrid of that going into the future may be the way to go. Essentially, because sometimes a lot of what we write can be lost in translation. And and we've all been there, right? Taking these Department of Public Health initiatives and all the language in that, reading that and trying to understand it for ourselves, first of all, and then trying to convey all this information to our parents and our families. It's been interesting. So that making sure our diversity, equity, inclusion is a part of our communication strategy, is a part of our path forward. And feel free to jump in and add anything to that. But I think that's extremely important to align ourselves with our DEI initiatives. Anyone else? Carol, Phil, Vince.
I just want to say hi to everyone. So good to see you. So good to see you. I'm sorry I'm late. I just came from a Nomad book study thing. That was hard. So good to see y'all.
Good to see you as well.
I agree with you, Caesar. It gives an opportunity for the school to express themselves in various channels, different platforms, in a more transparent way. They're getting the email notification, from the athletic director. They're also, hearing it from the school administration and the athletic director as well in a Zoom meeting. And also in various meetings, they're also getting that information from the head coach, right? So it just provides another opportunity for our stakeholder, which is our parents, right? Which is our main audience, and the students and student athletes, another opportunity for them to hear various channels of communication in a very timely and an efficient manner. So no, I totally agree with you about that.
And it kind of leads into my my next point of relationship building. How awesome has it been not only to build the relationships we have within our community stronger, but to expand the bounds of our relationships during this time because of the technology that we've kind of discovered through COVID. I'm sure Zoom and Google this and all that has existed before, but for us to truly utilize it and expand our horizons and get best practices from around the country has truly been an awesome experience. I know that for me, coming back to California from Texas, just a simple phone call, a couple of Zooms gave us here at Sacred Heart Cathedral some strategy advice in combating some of the potential pitfalls that we had in moving forward with our seasons. So I know that I've been able to be part of more organizations like, Carol mentioned Nomad. There's also, I can name about 3 or 4 or more organizations that I've been in since COVID has wreaked havoc across the country. But it's been, since it's brought people inside, it's given people more time to expand their horizons and develop relationships that they never even thought of having across the country. And for me, I think that's a great asset when it comes to best practices, when it comes to personal and professional growth. And when it comes to self-care and wellness, that we've really discovered it's important for us to take the time out, log off, shut it down, and make sure that you're spending the time that you need on your own. Feel free to jump in, because I can keep talking on this one because this is very important to me. But like for myself, uh, when we started talking about um, the mental health of our students, uh, I really thought about, wow. I mean, Phil will tell you, like, you almost have to kick me out the office. I'll stay here all day and all night, but I've started to make sure that I've taken an hour here, an hour there, so that we won't reach burnout. And COVID has brought you, like, it's brought you to a standstill to really reevaluate, uh, how you approach your profession. And so I want to make sure that was said. Um, in regards to our students, I think what we take forward from here is that we all have our character education programs, but wellness and mental health needs to be a part of our path forward. We can't just address mental health with our students when the world comes to a standstill. It has to be an ongoing effort in which we make sure that we do uh, make it very clear that mental health is a priority for our students and our coaches. Um, so we have to figure out how to weave that into our character development programs, how to make sure that that's part of our mission. So I want to kind of toss it back to you if anyone had any comments.
I have a question actually for the group and for you, Caesar. Um, yeah, because you touch on mental health and I'm wondering, and now especially in California, because all the sports are happening all at the same time, and like this real palpable stress and anxiety that's happening, um, and they're playing out already. We see it playing out in what it means in people's actions, in stuff that was happening obviously before COVID, but now because of the past year and a half, um, seems to be amplified in a lot of ways, and so I'm wondering, like, as and we know that mental health capacity of our students, of ourselves, which we know very fragile already in our profession, right? So I'm wondering if we have emergency procedures for everything, right? Natural disasters, earthquakes, all that stuff. Do we have, or has anyone found or implemented, uh, now that all the sports are starting out here, does anyone practice a mental health protocol for mental health events, or is that just still under the umbrella of, like, um, parent supervision or stuff like that? Like, I'm looking for ways to really help um, school personnel, um, and especially like ADs, like, not feel so isolated in this, right? How do we develop a system to, you know, to protect one another, to have a protocol for that, if a kid or if a coach, um yeah, where's our, like, container to release that, or to do we even have that? Are we even providing that on our campuses? My roundabout question for the day, that's all.
I think that's part of the discussion when we talk about our path forward. I think that's something that all of us need to address and put in our toolboxes, especially because we have the technology now to bring more people to the table. So it shouldn't be. I always say, always make sure people in the room are smarter than you, right? So I think this is a collaborative situation in which we have the opportunity to put counseling around the table, your school administration around the table, any public health um, resources around the table to come up with a plan in case you have a situation in which there's some sort of mental health situation that needs to be addressed. I mean, that's my answer. I can pass to anyone else if they have anything to add or.
At your beginning of the year or beginning of the season coaches meetings, at another school I've been at, we would actually always have the counselor there to at least introduce themselves and to kind of get a name and a face. And so they get to know who some of the coaches are, so that a relationship is starting to be built, so that when there's incidences, at least as the athletic director, I could say, we'll call so-and-so, and they know who that so-and-so is. And then obviously feel a lot more comfortable calling them once they've met them, even if it's just an introduction at a meeting, at least they, kind of know that there's a person behind that name. So I think that's a great way to bridge that in there.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks, Maeve. Does anyone have I know they do this at the college level and stuff, but in terms of chaplaincies, in Catholic schools and stuff, is there a counselor or mental health specialist that also can be in that capacity, or someone maybe from campus ministry that's assigned for teams? Or does that get I guess my question really is, how does a school operationalize that, right? I think that's my question. As an institution, how would a school operationalize that, knowing that has to happen, and not always fall on the athletic director?
I think you just did it. I think you just did it. It's collaborative effort that assigns shared responsibilities across the board that will allow for there to be more than one resource available to students and to coaches and to other adults on campus. I know that especially campus ministry is more than willing. They've reached out, I think, a couple times. Am I right, Phil? They reached out a couple times and how to collaborate with us in speaking to students. So it's all about taking that this kind of this time here in COVID, where everyone kind of is looking at ways they can help, and really institutionalizing that into, this is just how we do it because it's part of our mission. And it's going to take a few people to iron out the details on how it works, but you answered your own question, Carolyn, because it's that sounds
I
awesome.
I do that a lot. I usually have conversations just with myself, Caesar. So I'm sorry, you're kind of in the way today, but thank you for reflecting that back.
Awesome.
I think schools are recognizing the need for more resources in this area. My wife, who's a counselor herself, was telling me last week she was kind of shocked at all of, she was just kind of doing a search of job openings and stuff, shocked at all of the schools that are advertising openings for personal counselors across the state, the counties of the Bay Area, the whole 9 yards. So I think schools recognize it and are trying to meet that need to a far greater extent than they have in the past. And I would include Sacred Heart Cathedral in that as well. And yeah, campus ministry and our counseling department, I think, do a good job. We always can improve in terms of meeting the needs of the mental health of not only students, but I know earlier in this pandemic, at a couple of our faculty meetings, it was a topic of discussion that was brought up about the mental health well-being of our faculty and how they're all dealing with it, and the counseling department and the administration, given to the teachers and staff some resources that, they could use if they felt that they needed some assistance in this area. So yeah, I think this whole pandemic is bringing to light the need for us to be better prepared to help all of us, students included, faculty, staff, coaches, in terms of mental health.
Is there what do you call it? Have we heard anything from the state or maybe at our section levels, at your section or league levels, about requirements for mental health first aid training for adults? Oh.
No, and I think that could be something that each campus really takes an initiative to do. And as we do it at the campus level, I'm more than confident as we collaborate, we continue to build these relationships, that will trickle actually upward to the section and state levels. But ideas are always good until you have to tell someone that they have to work and they have to create it. So once we do it and we prove that it works, it's something that people will just grab onto, and it'll spread very easily throughout the state. I think so transition to the last point I had, really the big takeaway from me from COVID is how important are our athletic trainers. They have been the unsung heroes on each campus. And I challenge myself and the rest of you to find ways to continue to honor them, to appreciate them, to ensure that they receive all the professional development that they can ask for, because they receive the phone calls a lot of times about this test or that test. They receive the pushback on the physicals during COVID. They have done a tremendous job. And I think that us as athletic administrators, even though we value them, I think that value needs to be amplified across all departments and across all the schools. They have been tremendous in this fight throughout this pandemic. So I had to say that. We're coming up on my time here, but I challenge each and every one of you to make sure that they feel loved today and for as long as they're with you, because they've been fantastic. So any last questions, comments, anything? All right, so
Thanks, Caesar.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good job.
It's been awesome. Appreciate everyone, and hopefully we'll have one of these soon. We'll have some more people. I know that all the sports are happening at the same time, so everyone's busy right now. But thank you for taking the time out, and I appreciate all of you.